Today, we're going to be reacting to one of the greatest intellectual geniuses of our time, Wheat Waffles, showing infield footage of someone who is good looking versus someone who's not good looking approaching women. And he's going to prove beyond any reasonable doubt, because he is an expert in science, he is an expert in philosophy, he's an expert in logic. He has mastered all these subjects and many more. We are going to see him prove that looks are all that matter. And before we look at the footage, I want to say, while doing this, I've been in not an amazing mood because my mic wasn't working and I had to change all the settings, boomer shit. And I just woke up, not my best day or whatever in terms of how I was feeling. And I really didn't want to do a live stream. I didn't want to do a video, but I thought it was important for me to do this because it's part of practicing what I preach, right? Like when it comes to approaching women, when it comes to dating, you have to go out on the days when you feel like shit sometimes, right? You have to approach girls when you feel approach anxiety. You have to do things that you don't want to do. And maybe you guys will, unanimously say, never do that again. You should only stream when you're in a good mood because it sucked. But maybe people will resonate with it. Maybe it'll have a certain authenticity. Good evening. And maybe you guys will enjoy it more. I don't know. We'll see. But I kind of think it fits because, we're going to start by reacting to Wheat Waffles, who is someone that he definitely has never inspired someone to who is a big fan to name his YouTube channel after Wheat Waffles. He definitely hasn't inspired someone, one of his biggest fans, to commit a mass killing. That definitely didn't happen. His message definitely didn't resonate with someone who was very hurt and in a very dark place, and it didn't inspire that. There's zero chance of that. In fact, he's had a positive influence on humanity. And Wheat Waffles really knows what he's talking about, and his popularity, it has nothing to do with the fact that as humans, we like the feeling of being a victim. We like the feeling that it's not our fault. We like the feeling that we can blame genetics. We can blame the government. They took our jobs, if you know South Park. It's not about that. That is not what he's accomplished. He's accomplished something much deeper, something much more poignant, more powerful in helping men realize that it's truly hopeless. And that, yeah, sure, if you're not good looking, did somehow your parents, your father and his father and his father and his father, who also weren't good looking, did they all manage to reproduce? Yes. But that doesn't mean that you're going to have that opportunity, because if you're a sub-5 male, you need to give up. So with that said, let's check out the footage.
Before starting this video, I'm going to play two clips. One of an attractive man approaching a girl, and the other of a sub-5 man approaching a girl. Both guys end up getting rejected, but I won't tell you which is which. I want you to guess, based on the girl's body language, which way you think they are.
Oh, excuse me? I didn't mean to disturb you, but like...
No, I'm sorry.
Or my bad. God damn.
Excuse me. Give it back. Give it back. Give it back. Sorry.
Give what back?
My heart.
Oh.
Just kidding. That was so bad. I'm sorry. But you guys are all beautiful. But I was wondering if I can get your number.
I'm married.
You're married? You're married? She's a mom. How old are you guys? I mean,
I'm 24.
24.
So I think we know the point he's trying to make. I want to point out that I did a boot camp last weekend, and my clients were all well above average looking, right? They were all in the 6, 7, 8 range or what have you, right? They were all good looking, and they all had women who reacted to them very poorly. That happened to each and every one of them. And I've had women react to me like the first ones. I've had women react to me like the second ones. So no matter who you are, if you show one example, if you just choose one, cherry pick one example, you're going to be able to find someone who's very good looking get very bad reactions. And you're going to find someone who's not good looking get very good reactions. Now, is that to say that if you're, if you're hideous, right? If you're really bad looking, are more women going to react to you badly? Yeah. Yeah, of course. But the idea that that's the only difference between these two guys is already really stupid, because yes, that is a factor, but it's not the only factor. Because what other difference can you tell between these two guys? Now we're assuming the second one was the good looking one. What other difference other than, thanks, Fly, but what other difference, despite looks, can you tell? The first one had a very uncomfortable, anxious, weird, nervous vocal tonality. The second one spoke with a deep voice that had some emotion. He also, when the girls kind of backed off, he showed calibration, right? Like he reacted to that with some appropriate, like, oh, I'm sorry. Like he showed social skills, not only in what he said, but also in his tonality, right? He was someone who sounded far more charismatic. So if you're to assume, let's say you don't know anything about them and you're told that they're both, equally good looking. Yes, I do have chapped lips, but if you're told they're equally good looking, can you tell a difference? And the answer is yes. One of them is 1,000 times more charming than the other. And now I want to be clear. Is it easier to be charming and confident if you are good looking? Well, it actually is easier, because you're going to just, it's called the halo effect, right? You're more likely to get positive reinforcement throughout your life, and it is easier. It is less difficult to develop charm and charisma, etc., the better looking you are. That is a factor. So I'm not saying that's not a factor even in terms of personality, but if you look for it, you will find guys who didn't have those qualities and yet who still get amazing results, and yet who are still extremely charismatic. Like the guy I knew in college, the best guy I knew in game was someone who was tall and good looking. The second best guy I knew was a guy who was about 5'4", had a huge nose. He was below average. He wasn't like ugly, but he wasn't good looking. He was a 5 at most, but he was just so charismatic because the way that he thought, the way that he conducted himself, his mindsets led to that, right? So, yes, looks are a factor, and looks are even a factor in your personality. But when you tell yourself that it's all because of my looks and therefore I can't be charming, I can't be charismatic, there is room for improvement.
That's good. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I respect that, though.
You're so bold.
Yeah, guys, it's cool. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. You too.
Unsurprisingly, this video was of the sub 5, while this one was the chat. Shocking how differently these guys are treated. And they have the same approaching style in terms of accent, mannerisms, which suggest
No, like, are you deaf? Like, their approaches were not the same at all. Rewatch that if you need to, but the tonality and the voice were vastly, vastly different, right? They weren't even close. So if you want to say, their nonverbal communication, their game was exactly the same, like maybe this is going to sound mean, it might get me in trouble, but like if you had autism, I would see how you'd come to that conclusion. But if you have any social awareness whatsoever, you can tell that the second guy had a lot more positive energy, a lot more friendliness, a lot more emotion in his voice, as opposed to being like really closed off and just tense, right? The first guy seemed very tense and very anxious, and it shouldn't be shocking that he got a negative reaction. Now, again, I'm not saying that the difference in appearance isn't a factor, but something Wheat Waffles seems not quite intelligent enough to understand is that there's something called confounding variables. So when you're trying to determine something like, all right, is it looks that matters or is it personality? It's both, right? Like when you just try to look at everything through appearance, that's what he's doing, right? He's just focusing on appearance. There are other factors that are not as obvious that you may want to ignore because it makes things complicated and it's hard to tell. There's a million different things. That's annoying to have to think about all the different possible confounding variables. But the truth is, dating is complicated. Attraction is complicated. There are a million factors. One good example, if you go to a statistics class for like psychology for science, is there are more murders during the summer and there are more ice cream sales during the summer. Therefore, the obvious conclusion, ice cream sales lead to murders, right? There's some kind of connection there, clearly. And of course, what you learn is that it's a confounding variable. It has nothing to do with the fact that ice cream sales are higher. It has to do with other factors about the summer. I actually don't remember exactly what it is. If you want to say in the comments, let me know. I believe, for whatever reason, it's something about like there's more tourism, there's more whatever. There's a million other reasons associated. But if you just focus on one aspect, you just focus on looks and you get rid of the fact that one guy sounds creepy without even seeing what he looks like, he sounds creepy, then of course you're going to draw ridiculous conclusions, just like the person who decides, oh, well, ice cream sales lead to murder.
Yes, it's mainly something beyond behavioural creating the disparity. The reason I'm making this video is because lately I've seen a massive explosion of these types of TikTok approaching videos. The two clips you just saw were from channels like these on your screen now. Zizou X is a sub 5 guy, and even the comments of his videos destroy him because of how ugly they think he is. They're constantly asking for a face reveal to know how bad he has it. While the other, Dinzel, is a chat, and his comments say how he must be good looking, to the point of model tier, and is the attractive version of Zizou X. Both the channel's content are the same and all involve going
Is that the same big dog that's watching the stream? Because if so, that's kind of it's kind of hilarious.
up to a girl, saying she's pretty, then asking for her number. They then record the reactions, usually taking place at public.
Like, the funny thing about this is I recently had a client who a lot of people would think, a bootcamp client, a lot of people would think is a hopeless case. He was a 38-year-old virgin, bald, Indian, and other dating coaches. So someone like Wheat Waffles, who does face ratings, said that he was a 3 out of 10. And I've had many clients that are not maybe that extreme who found success, but this one is so extreme that I think it's particularly like it just proves the point. And this guy was a 38-year-old virgin, and then within 6 months, he took 2 boot camps with me. But within 6 months, he not only lost his virginity, but he slept with over 25 women. Maybe I should ask him for an update right now, like what he's at. But he slept with over 25 women. And if he watched Wheat Waffles, he wouldn't even try, right? He would just give up. He would just say, it's hopeless. There's no point. I'm not good looking enough. He would decide that, oh, well, this guy's proving that it's all about looks. It's so easy to believe that. It's so soothing to the ego to believe that. And he would completely give up. That's what would happen. And that's what's happened to countless guys. And look, are there people who are like, absolutely obese and, 5'0" and they have, look, there are examples of men who your looks are so bad that it's going to be extremely difficult for you. The vast majority of men aren't that case. And even someone who's a 38-year-old balding virgin can have more success in 6 months. I was going to say a year, but he slept with more women in 6 months than most men do in their entire lives. If that's possible, then you have to question what's possible for you. And most of us, we like to believe this video of someone who's showing evidence, showing examples, someone who has a lot of subscribers, so we think they must be an authority. We will want to agree with them. They have so many reasons to agree with them, but you have to question, did I actually do my due diligence? Did I ever really try, or did I use these as an excuse not to try, right? It's the same people who say, oh, the reason I'm poor is because the government makes it hard to be rich, or it's because of my ethnicity, or it's because of whatever. Those may be factors. They may be disadvantages. But despite all of those factors, there are people who have made it work because they don't automatically believe in it. right? They decide first, I'm going to try really hard, despite what I'm told, and see if I can make it happen. And then maybe I'll decide, oh, it was hopeless, I should give up, etc. Physique makes a difference at the extremes, right? Same thing with face, really. So if you are an extreme outlier in terms of being like morbidly obese, if you're in the category of morbidly obese medically, then chances are it's going to be a lot harder. Now, you could still have success, especially with like sixes and sevens. Won't be as hard as you think, but it is going to be a lot harder, right? Substantially harder. I'm not like going to pretend it's not. Um, but that's a small sample size. And then if you have an amazing physique, there are going to be women who pursue you. Dogs by all the dog poop outside, so I got flies. But anyway, if you are someone who has an extreme Chad physique, there are going to be women who like automatically are like, I want to bang this guy. That is going to happen. And I recommend moving towards having that physique. I'm working on that myself because not just for women, that's not the main reason, but also because it's going to be good for your self-esteem. It's good for your health. It's good for all kinds of reasons. And that's the funny thing. Someone like Wheat Waffles, who's talking about looks obsessively, he's not fat. He's not in horrible shape, but he's not shredded. He's not ripped. He's not in good shape either, right? He's just completely average build. So yes, being obese will affect you a lot. Being too skinny is actually okay. A lot of women like that, but being like significantly obese, not good. It will hurt your results and you should work on that. But there are still people in that category who have success.
Places like malls, the street, a town square, and they also get a surprisingly large amount of views. As you can see, 42k, 1.7 mil. And what I'm going to be focusing on in today's video is how differently these two guys, Zizou the sub 5 and Dinzel the Chad, can be treated based just on their looks. Now, for Zizou the sub 5, there is this image circulating claiming this is him, which I cannot confirm is true. However, solely based on the reactions he gets in his videos, I wouldn't be surprised if this is in fact.
Oh my God. Shut the fuck up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's him based on the reactions. Do you understand how low level of an argument that is? Oh, it makes sense according to my confirmation bias. Look that up if you don't know what that is. Wheat Waffles. I'm sure you watch this because you get off on hatred. So be sure to watch this. But, oh, it makes sense. So therefore, it probably is him. That is objectively stupid, right? When you just look for proof that what you already think is true, oh, it must be true because it fits my preconceived notions. That's when you've lost all rationality, right? That's when you're just an ideologue, that you're just someone who is going according to a narrative and that you've lost all critical thinking ability. And look, it might be him, but you just jump to that conclusion because, oh, he's getting bad reactions, so it must be that guy. Shut the fuck up. You are stupid. Like, I hope Wheat Waffles, it's going to be hard for him to realize how stupid he is in terms of critical thinking because he's getting infinite validation, right? He's getting so many views, so much traction. But there's plenty of popular people who get a lot of views, who have a huge audience, who are stupid. And if you're watching this, Wheat Waffles, I'm sure you are, you might want to consider, maybe I'm one of those people. I use scientific studies, even though I don't understand science. I don't even have a science degree. I make arguments based on things that are not objective at all, just my assumption. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm hurting people.
Him, or at the very least, a close resemblance. I'd rate his looks around a 4 out of 10 in SMV, and if you think this is harsh, or don't believe me, just wait until I show you more of his clips, and the data I prepared from scouring through his videos. As for Dinzel, who I believe to be a Chad, I'd rate his SMV somewhere between a 7 or 8 out of 10. I've actually seen what he looks like.
All right, so just to be clear, it's important to understand Wheat Waffles, his rating scale is a 1 to an 8. And By the way, this is real, what I'm about to say, and it makes a lot of sense because he doesn't believe perfection is a real thing. So there's no such thing as a 10 because that's perfection. So let's get rid of that, even though the whole point of a rating scale is to compare people. So there's no such thing as perfection. But there's also no such thing as a 9 because apparently that's too close to perfection as well. So a 7 or an 8 is like the highest of the high tier. An 8 is like a male model, not a male model that actually is a male model because they're usually not attractive at all and are anorexic, but like, you know, an extremely, extremely good looking guy. So 8 to him is actually a 10. So I want to make that clear.
Because I saw a reflection in his phone in one of his videos. I'm not going to tell you which one, but I can show you this image who is a close resemblance to what he actually looks like. And
so
I'm
he's
sure
not
you'll
even
agree
showing-
is an attractive guy around an 8. So,
I got to pause that. So his whole argument, really think about this, his whole argument is based on two people who he doesn't, the second one, he says he knows what he looks like, but he won't show what he looks like. And he's saying he's very good looking. We have to take his word for it. There's no evidence, no proof, no reason to think that. The first one, he's saying, oh, he's probably this guy because people circulated around the internet, not giving any argument or evidence that it is actually him whatsoever, zero. And we're supposed to just take his word for it because it fits our preconceived notions, because it fits the idea that you're a victim. It's not your fault if you're not the Chad. And it's so easy to agree with that. But he's given zero evidence whatsoever. And there is, look, if you need proof of the contrary, there is infinite infield on YouTube of guys who aren't good looking having success. There's Owen Cook. You can find Owen Cook infield. He's definitely not good looking. He's 5'9", so average height, but balding, and you know, maybe a 6 out of 10, but I'd say probably a 5. Sorry if he watches this. I'm not saying this to be insulting. It's actually a compliment that you still had success. Simple Pickup, you can watch them. Jesse and Kong, especially Jesse, not a good looking guy. And he shows his girlfriend. He shows himself having a lot of success with attractive women. And there's, you know, I could go through the list. Deepak Wayne, I don't personally necessarily like the guy, but he shows examples. There's a long list of guys who are not good looking. Bradicus, who Wheat Waffles has previously said, oh, look at him get rejected so harshly. It's because he's ugly. Yeah, he's also shown him making out with hundreds of women. He got canceled because he showed too much infield, right? Too much making out and shit. But he had more proof that he was successful with beautiful women. He has infield and he has footage of himself making out in bed with super hot girls all the time, like hours of it. So if you really try to cherry pick and find the perfect example that proves your narrative, you can find it, but he hasn't even done that because he hasn't shown their faces, right? He's just saying, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. And yeah, like I said, I was in a bad mood starting this stream, but like I think it helps because, you know, I want to be polite and respectful or whatever, but this guy, like, I think he's actively hurting society. Like, I think he makes the world a worse place with what he does because he's not wrong that looks matter. He's not wrong that they're a factor, but the obsession and the honing in on just that one factor and ignoring all the others is actually damaging people because it's very easy to believe based on social conditioning, right? It's very easy to make that excuse, but most guys haven't really tried, right? They haven't worked on their social skills. They haven't asked a bunch of women out. They haven't maximized their dating profiles, none of those things. And to tell a bunch of people who already feel hopeless that they should give up, they're going to agree.